So I'm on the BJJ Fanatics website, and I see 3 new videos by some guy named Thomas Radzinski. You familiar with that guy at all?
Nope, absolutely not.
No? Well, he's got some good stuff. Three brand new videos. They're getting amazing reviews, which is good to see as well. But you got to tell us about them real quick?
Yeah, I had, you guys already know, but I had opportunity to go to Boston, shoot 3 more instructionals, 1 on butterfly hook, complete guide for butterfly hook, 2 wrap, lapel, and submit them, and 3 we have taking the back. It's particularly designed for guys for over 40 because there's no climbing involved. All the back takes are on the ground. Very, very full and effective system. So dip into it. I'm really hoping that this is going to help your jiu-jitsu and really take it to the next level.
BJJfanatics.com. Just search ROZDZ. We have all had that situation where after class is when we want to ask a question. And Thomas, a lot of those questions you've already answered, right, at Ask a Black Belt.
Yeah, it's another podcast that I'm running. It's on podcast, all podcast platforms, plus on YouTube. You can find it anywhere. Just search for my name. Search for Ask a Black Belt. At this point, over 100 episodes, different questions, jiu-jitsu, life-related, but something that everybody comes across, and often these questions sink in our mind, but we don't ask for whatever reason. So if that benefits you, go there, listen. It actually might help your jiu-jitsu, might help your life as well. And if you have any questions, find me on Instagram and drop me a line. I'll be happy to answer your question and mention your name during the episode.
Welcome to Raw Radio.
And we are live.
Here we go. Yeah.
Once again, I'll tell you, it's like I'm getting used to the fact that sometimes you're not here and I have to record things by myself. But it's so much different. I'm not saying it's like it's worse or better. I'm just saying it's the dynamic is very different.
I don't know what to say. Different is good.
Is it? Oh, okay.
Put this away.
Okay.
I got this. You got this little tripod here.
It's really
it's
addicting.
like a fidget spinner.
Is it addicting?
Way out of the way.
That's what I have a pen for. Keep clicking it. If you guys are listening to it, you're gonna hear a lot of this constantly. That's my fidget spinner. Fidget spinner. That's a new word. That didn't exist 10 years ago.
No, it did not.
Fidget spinner.
Fidget spinner.
It's
what was my fidget? I guess growing up, what was my fidget spinner?
bicycle.
Bicycle. Yeah, go outside. Play with a bug.
Get your ass outside. Yeah.
But yeah. So
I'll tell you a funny story about bike. It just came to my mind. I was probably 5'7", somewhere there. But I was riding my bike, and there was this trend where, you know how all mountain bikes now have straight handlebars, right?
Yeah.
We didn't have this back then. Okay, not in Poland. So we took the normal, what do you call them? Like the horn-like handlebars, right? I'm showing, but not everybody's watching this if I'm listening, right? So the horn handlebars, and we tilted them outward, to be flat, right? To get as close as possible to the one bar, right? So we want to be like cool. We want to be like, and then nobody could afford the new bikes that had the straight handlebars, right? But then on top of all this, right? So at that point, you're leaning probably 6-10 inches forward more than normal, right? So your weight shifts to the front wheel, right? And then on top of all this, we were mastering riding with our hands. Nice. And then on one of those attempts of creating mastery, I lost control. And I ran into my neighbor's car, and I scratched his front door. Okay. Now, what you don't know, what you might not know about Polish culture and the guys in Polish culture, especially back home back then, is that every Sunday everybody washes their car by hand. Okay, it's like a ritual almost. Like every guy is taking care of the car and the whole thing.
He's getting out of the house. He's getting away from.
It might be so,
yeah.
but it was a thing, right? It's a thing. So
got to get away from throwing it back outside.
So then you have me, knucklehead, who runs into his front door, right? And like it's like a huge scratch on the front door, right? So then I'm like, I'm going ape shit here because I scratch his door, and what do I say to my father? My father's gonna lose his shit, whole 9 yards. So that what I forgot to mention is this whole thing happens in front of the building, right? In front of the apartment building, right? So right in front of the door. So for the remaining of the day, I am playing in the back of the building, refusing come to the front. Sure. And then the time comes up where I have to go home because it's getting dark. So I develop all these strategies how to go around so I'm not seen that I'm entering the building. I was so stupid back then.
We all.
I remember this, I was trying to go between the booth, and I have my bicycle with me, so I can't just hide, you know what I mean? Yeah. But I'm dragging this bicycle between trees and bushes and all the. Oh my god!
Well, did you make it? Did they find out?
I did make it, and then a few days later,
it's
100%. I don't remember who it was. Yeah, they did. And it got to my father, and my dad was like, well, sounds like it's your problem. You gotta go and talk to so and so. So I had the walk of shame, going to their place and explaining myself that I scratched their door.
And I bet you got in twice as much trouble because you tried to hide the fact that you did something wrong. It's always the cover up.
It's always the cover up. Yeah, it's always the plan B that failed. Always.
Yep.
Yeah. But listen, I call these life lessons because it came to my mind. I remember that. It was a good, memorable event. Look at that. Now it's fully documented. There. We should get my father on the show and have him tell some of the stories.
Your dad doesn't speak English.
That's the best part.
The Polish only podcast.
That's the best part. We can gain some audience overseas.
Yeah, that'll do it. All right,
but anyhow, you weren't here.
No,
I had privilege talking to Profenos Denis Pinto, and what a great personality. One of the things that really stuck out from his story was, which is very unheard of. If you didn't listen to the episode, you're listening to this right now. You should listen to the episode, because as I was listening to him telling the story, I thought this was extraordinary, but just wow moment. So first, he lives in such a small city, not to give it away, but he got his blue belt from his instructor he barely saw. So he was self-training up to the blue belt. After that, he separated from his instructor because the instructor moved, his professor moved away. So he's training by himself in a garage with a couple other guys. And he gets his purple and brown belt remotely. Purple over the phone, brown belt over the email.
Sure.
Okay. So this entire time between blue and black, all his recognitions come from non-personal engagement. And then for very first time, when it's actually a big deal, is when he gets his black belt from Master de la Riva. But it brought us such an interesting point of conversation from a sense of, this is not heard of. This doesn't happen. And he was saying even he wasn't ready for any of the recognitions. He wanted to say no because he wanted to remain current belt, but these things come in, but he doesn't even have an opportunity to say that because it's done remotely.
Well, that's true.
You don't even, and I'm not going to tell you the story, how it happened, but listen to how he got his purple belt. I'm sorry, how he got his brown belt. That is mind blowing to me. It's just such an interesting dynamic that was taking place, decades ago in jiu-jitsu because of such a small community, but also such a remote and semi-disconnected environments that they had to deal with. Now, today, it's very different. Today, we have very different, here at Roll Academy and many academies, tens of thousands of academies around the country or even the world. Right? We have different dynamics, how the belts are rewarded, but rarely any of them down on their phone, huh?
Probably not anymore. We just talked to Nathan Orchard, who got his blue from Eddie Bravo over the internet,
over the forum.
So some of that's still, but that how many years ago was that?
Yeah.
Some of that stuff did still happen up until fairly recently. But we've had plenty of people on here. It's like, oh, he got his blue belt from Hoist. Well, he got his blue belt from Hoist at a seminar. He didn't train with Hoist.
Yeah.
2-3 times a week or more, and then get his blue belt. He, Hoist was at a seminar, and he did whatever you need to do in order to get that. Roy Dean comes to mind, right? One of those guys that's always traveling, who promotes people, probably without seeing them very often. So it does still happen, but I think that's a dying trend. You're going to be you get promoted by the people that see you every day more and more nowadays.
So for you, who we can consider as being somewhere in the mid of this journey, right? You're not black belt yet. You're somewhere in the middle there, right?
Yeah.
Well, but I think that's important to acknowledge because your perspective is very different than if I ask the same questions to a black belt, right? So I'm curious your perspective. What would carry more weight for you? Getting the recognition, like getting your brown belt from somebody that sees you every day, or somebody more prestigious, somebody that you are associated with, but you haven't seen, let's say, in 3 years, simply because it's just not available. Like these things, like they're not available.
It's So
like hypothetically, would you prefer to get it from a local peer? I'm not even talking about black belt, but local peer, right? Who's higher ranked than you, or would you rather get it from Helio Gracie?
I would rather get it from the local peer. Now, if I was 25, maybe I would feel differently. I think when you're younger and you have idols and what's the word I'm looking for? That celebrity black belt.
Yeah.
That you're like, you idolize them. It's like, it's huge. It might have meant more back then, because that celebrity black belt put it around my waist. The closest thing I can think of to now would be like if we're having a promotion ceremony and you had Alberto give it to me instead of you.
I see.
No offense, Alberto. I love you. But I would rather have it from you because
wipe your nose.
What's that?
That's cute. Wipe your nose. Oh, brown nosing right now.
Yeah, I'm brown belting nosing. but so I also I look, being in your 50s, some things just don't mean as much either. And I know before we were deciding what we were going to talk about today, you did mention something about like, is rank important? I look at rank now as just meaning you put in the time. It doesn't mean you're good at jiu-jitsu. I'm a purple belt, and there are white belts that, like if I'm not really careful or really putting it in, that are going to catch me for sure all the time on the regular. Guys that are half my age and ex-wrestlers, or even they just, they're here more, they're on the mats more. So I kind of look at it as it just really means you put in the time, you put in the effort. It doesn't mean you're good. So let's get that out there.
Well, I think you're good.
It doesn't mean
to yourself, not comparing to others.
Right. Yes.
Right. It doesn't make you any less good in jiu-jitsu. It's just based on your own standards. I think that's oftentimes
we were talking
forgotten.
to somebody. We were talking to somebody not that long ago that said, like there's black belts out there that they're like, wow, I can't believe this guy's a black belt. But then they have to tell themselves, well, it doesn't matter compared to me what their skill level is. They still went through whatever they needed to get through to get that belt.
Yeah.
Is somebody who is competing every month and going to worlds and going to, ADCC trials, you can't compare that person to the guy that's training twice a week. So the guy that's doing all those competitions and against the best in the world might not be a black belt yet, right? Who's the giant kid? What's his name? He's a purple belt. We were going to have him on and it fell through. But he's
Dan.
Yeah, Dan's going to be destroying the black belt who comes to class 3 times a week.
Doesn't have to be Dan. Listen,
but do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Absolutely. Well, this is what Robert Drysdale talked about when we had him on, and we recently re-released that episode. So you don't have to scroll far down to listen to that again. But he was, and I think still is making efforts for IBJJF to recognize hobbyists and competitors in a very different ways. Created two different ranking systems.
Did he talk? I don't think he talked about that in the episode. I think he talked when we went to lunch when he was here. He talked about.
Oh, maybe.
So
damn it.
Go back and listen anyway, because I'm sure we touched on something.
Him and I actually messaged recently. We talked about bringing him back on the on the podcast one more time.
But we definitely talked about that when we were to lunch.
Maybe you're right. Yeah. But there are some thoughts behind this, right?
Well,
like how do you create a recognition for those who do as a hobby, and their priorities are very different than those who do compete,
right?
Even professionally.
Well, look,
right?
the Olympics just ended, and I'm sure that there are people, look, there's pro basketball players, but they don't play in the NBA, but they're still pro basketball players.
How are you a pro basketball player if you don't play in the NBA?
Play in a different league.
What other league is there?
There's the D League. There's other leagues. You don't have to be in the NBA to be a pro.
I don't think that's what makes you.
What makes you a pro?
Okay,
is
now
an organization that pays you.
I stop. Yeah, I know.
Right?
And now I sound stupid, but I didn't know there were other leagues, professional leagues. I know they're amateur leagues, but they're professional leagues.
Yeah, absolutely.
I didn't
There's
know
all
that.
sorts of different professional leagues.
Okay.
Look at the Chicago Wolves, right? So if you're
good
hockey,
point.
right?
You got good point.
You're a professional.
They're minor
hockey
leagues,
player,
yes.
but you're not in the NHL.
Yes. You good. I wasn't thinking that way. Yeah. You're right. Same thing with baseball, hockey. Yeah. They're minors. Yeah.
Is he not a pro? No, you might want to qualify it and say, he plays in the,
Or he's a pro. He's getting paid. If you have a check coming in, you're a pro. I mean,
right. But is he on the, is he going to make the Olympic team? No, not a chance in hell. So you're going to have white, blue, purple, brown, black belts, who have that rank, who have earned that rank. But if they walked out on the mats, in a big competition, they're going to get smoked. Do you take their belt away? No, it's ridiculous. They earned that. So does that dilute what that belt means? No, I don't think so, because I think it means whatever it needs to mean to whoever has it. Now, if you're just giving them away, if 10 years from now, if little kids, 7 and 8-year-old kids can get a jiu-jitsu black belt because we need to compete with taekwondo schools and, that type of thing, now you're moving into extremes where it's probably going to change my opinion. I think, so does it matter? It matters to the individual. It matters to the instructor who gave it to them. And it matters to some of the people around them. But, who were we talking to not too long ago that she won Worlds and she went grocery shopping and she was like, nobody here cares. Nobody here even knows who I am.
Alex.
Yeah.
Alex Barcelona.
Yeah. So, I mean, in the Grams, the Olympics just ended. You think anybody was talking about Gordon Ryan at the Olympics? Nobody. It's such a different, separate, small, although it seems big now, world.
Yeah.
That,
Yeah. So, so what are you saying? Will jiu-jitsu make it to Olympics?
I don't know. Breakdancing did.
I know. I saw that. Don't start me on this. I was like, what the hell is this?
Look, that breakdancing is it's no joke, right? And it's not easy.
I know nothing about breakdancing, so
yeah,
I'm not the one to judge. But I was very surprised there was official sport.
Yeah. So am I, because I think that so much of it is open to interpretation.
Well,
I could be wrong.
But so is gymnastics. So is ice skating.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
There are figures that have to aim, but there's a lot of artistic side to it.
I would assume in breaking in the Olympics that there are
forms
things that you have to do.
Yeah.
And if you don't complete those, then your score is low.
You avoiding a question.
What?
Will jiu-jitsu make the Olympics?
Oh, probably at some point.
Really?
Will it look the same as it does now? Whose rule set will it be?
I don't think it will.
I think it will.
I don't think it will.
I think it's too big. People will push.
I don't think it will.
And
I don't think it will.
You don't think there's somebody with the last name Gracie right now trying to figure it out?
No, it won't. Yeah, I don't think it will. I think logistically it won't. And I'll tell you why. One, you need one organization to oversee it over the entire world right now, and there isn't one. So one would have to take over or be created. That's a monumental task, and I don't know the jiu-jitsu community is ready for that. So that's one. However, I do think that grappling might make it to the Olympics or MMA.
Yeah,
I think MMA will make it to Olympics. I think having UFC as that organization, I think actually it might happen. I don't know what the requirements are, prerequisites. Maybe you guys are listening. You can know and send us a message what those are. We can talk about it more. But I think there's chances that MMA will make it.
That's why I with the qualifier of I don't know when. But I think there's an opportunity for it, and I think there's enough people. Not everybody has to be on board. Just the right select people have to be on board for it to happen.
Yeah, there are special prerequisites. I could Google it right now, but we're going to wrap this up soon. But there are special prerequisites. I know there has to be one organization overseeing the whole world. That's one. Two, there has to be a certain percentage of people.
Mm-hmm. But that organization that oversees the whole world doesn't oversee everything underneath it.
Yes, it does.
They just have their organization, and you have to go into that.
That's fine, but there has to be a certain percentage of people attending that sport. And,
sure.
And so like that organization doesn't exist. So that's one. Number two, the amount of people that would have to adapt to the organization, would have to be in a certain amount. Right. And those are the hard tasks, right? So like look at wrestling. There's an international wrestling organization. You look at judo, you look at gymnastics, like all of them are overseen by one body that dictates the rules, dictates what is happening, who competes, who's registered, who's not registered, and so on. Yeah.
But I don't think that necessarily, that organization, I don't think has to come to fruition before the Olympics say, okay, you can do it. You'll be it. No, I think the Olympics can. I think the Olympics plays around enough. They're pretty loose where they can say, you are it. You don't have to, we deem you it. They can put their finger down on you and say that you can do all that. So I think the creation of that organization is easier than you think it is.
But this takeaway is going to be longer than one ever.
You know what I'm saying? I'm saying that organization can be created with the intent and the approval of the Olympics. It doesn't have to grow organically.
Oh, it doesn't have to, but it has to be created, and it has to be.
And I think that's easier to do than you do.
Maybe, I don't know.
I think the right money has to come into play. It's all about money, always.
It must be widely practiced by men in at least 75 countries.
There, ding, check that one off.
In no fewer than 40 countries by women.
We're in there.
By women.
Yep.
But that's just one that popped up. There's a whole list of these requirements. So,
sure.
Yeah, I'll Google. I'll do some research on this.
I think that those requirements.
I don't want jiu-jitsu Olympics.
That's the problem. Is you don't want it.
I don't want it. I think it's gonna ruin everything. I like the fluid of what we have right now. We're gonna finish this before I get upset.
We got a meeting. So, I think that
we done.
I think it can be easily with when the right people decide they want it to be. That's all.
We'll see.
When the right people with the deep enough pockets decide they want it to be, it will be.
No, it's fair enough. That's fair enough. I'm not privileged to have deep pockets, so
no, mine are really. All my pockets are like that one in your jeans for your.
See,
my have. That's how deep they are.
Mine have holes inside, so nothing ever sticks. Just right for it. That was a fun one. Later.
Thank you for listening to Raw Radio. If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to leave us a review and help us make the show even more amazing. For future episodes, check out our website and follow us on all major podcast platforms. Take care.